Hello there. 10 minutes with the Lord. 10 minutes a day we ought to all be able to do. I'm going to try something new here. I'm going to try reading the Bible. I've been going through a lot of metamorphoses, a lot of changes from the carnal nature to the spiritual nature. And some things have been coming to me that I think it's worth leaving a record of online. Someday somebody may start watching some of these videos. You never know; and may gain something from it. And to me, that's a worthy asset. So I'm gonna just simply read. Try to go for 10 minutes. Let's see. Let's see what I can do here. This is the book of Genesis. It all starts here. The first 5 books are, of course, the Pentateuch. And it's basically the frame of all of our existence. This whole book is the story of our lives. It's the story of our story. These are not the stories of old dead people that's been off this earth for thousands and thousands of years. These stories are our stories. And I think we will find that when we get to reading this book, it is about our journey of our existence, starting to the time that we become captive to the time that we become released, and every pain and trouble that happens in between. So that being said, I'm going to interject with what I get spiritually. And I know this is what all preachers do in churches, and you usually get not much of the Bible read, and you hear a lot of their voices. But the whole point of this is kind of an exercise, is to see how the carnal nature of my mind is also married to the spiritual nature of my soul. And what I used to read in this Bible, I used to receive carnally, and now I'm receiving spiritually. So I think the differences of what it means on either side, which by the way is the left side of the brain versus the right side of the brain, we're going to kind of analyze this and see what we get out of this. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw that the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. Now, to me, when I read that part right there, God divided the light from the darkness, our carnal nature, it tends to see this as physical light and physical darkness of the earth. I tend to see this as our nature. I think the left part of our brain, which sees in logic and science, is darkness. And I think the right side of our brain, which sees creativity and hope and love, things that we don't physically see or touch, but somehow we crave for it. This is our right side of our brain. And am I talking science? Yeah, I think God is very much has the use of science within the realm of His creation. I think it's the only thing that makes sense. So there is some science involved here. So with that being said, there's a division here, just like your brain. The number 2, anytime you see 2 in the Bible, there is a deeper spiritual significance meaning to it. And it basically stems from our creation. We have 2 sides of our brains, and it changes the way that we can conceive things, and it's very much all tied together. Let's move on. God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. The difference between night and day are self-explanatory. And if you think carnally, you're talking about the actual physical night and day. And if you're thinking spiritually, like you think like the expression that people use all the time. Oh, the difference is night and day. It's like one is opposing, opposite of the other. Just like the way the left side and the right side of the brain works. They are opposing. Let's see. And in the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. Okay, now when we see, let's divide the waters from the waters, all through this book, waters is a likeness for the many multitudes of peoples. Like when it says let's take the seven-headed dragon or the whore that rises out of the waters. This is a beast system that is basically made of many millions and billions of peoples. Waters always represents a multitude of peoples. So now we're going to divide these peoples. You got the people that think with the left side of their brain. You got the people that think with the right side of their brain. This also affects us politically. It affects us spiritually, morally, just about every way that you can think. It's not that you're born either or. God very much gives us a choice of what side of the brain that we shall use to do our thinking for us, or how we understand things. We can either choose the left side of the brain or the right side to get us to our understanding and to get us onto the foundation of which we stand. Okay, that being said, and God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. So you see here we got one under and we got one under. We got one under and we got one over. Above the earth and below the earth. Above the earth you would think is a spiritual heavenly plane. Below the earth it would be like a hellish existence. Somebody who sees only logically, not morally or spiritually. So, but there's a division here. God's creating us with the ability to have this division. That being said, and God called the firmament heaven. That kind of proves out what I was just saying. And in the evening and the morning were the second day. Now, this particular book that I'm going to be reading this in is called a companion Bible, and it is it's got notes like this is the actual scripture, and this was done by Mr. E. Bullinger, W.E. Bullinger, I think his name is. He was a guy from about 100 years ago that was a Bible scholar, and he researched the words back to the original Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic, and all the languages that were in the Bible, and he gives you possibilities what certain words could mean that might give us more clarity, certain insights to what may have been mistranslated or over-translated or under-translated that maybe might make something more clearly understood. I noticed one of the things that a lot of people don't like this Bible for is because I believe he was a gap theorist, which means there was there's a belief from people that think there was an existence before God created the heaven and the earth. And I have to say that that has to be true, because well, let's look at it with the left side of the brain for a little bit and look at it logically. Elsewhere in this book it describes the Satan as created as a great angel. In fact, he was even covered over the seat, over the mercy seat, which is over the ark, the covenant of God. And God declares that he created the devil not short of anything. He was wonderful. He had he was in charge of music. He was in charge of a lot of things angelic, and he was very much like Michael the archangel. And but when this book starts, and when we're fixing to come to the creation of the garden of Adam and Eve, when we first get information in this part of the story, he's already the serpent, and he's already beguiling Eve, and he's already up to no good. So it's like this book doesn't start where the devil was a great angel and defender of the faith and protector of the mercy seat. We learn that later in this book when we start looking back in time. So in that sense, I had to say that Bullinger had it right, that in order for all this to make sense, we have to succeed to the thought that there was angels and there was an existence of God and souls before this story started. Now, I'm not going to spend time reading all the notes, which if you should have a companion Bible and you want to read through those, I mean, they're always helpful to me. Looks like my 10 minutes is, I still got a little bit left to go. Let's maybe go a little bit further. You see, and God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And to me, that's telling me that all souls are going to be born through water, which is the water in the belly of your mother when you were born to this earth. We are all coming to this earth through the water. And it is probably why God used the waters as a likeness for the multitudes of peoples, because we are all born of these waters. And God called the dry land earth, and he gathered together of the waters, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. This is a big body of water, multitudes. And God saw that it was good. No denying that. I got to watch my watch. I'm getting pretty close here to the 10-minute mark. So I think I'm going to stop here. In the next video, I'll probably start there. So this exercise and this reading, I don't know how far I'll get in the reading of this Bible. I'd like to say that we could get through the whole Bible, but it's not likely. But this is going to be the first in a series of Genesis. I don't know if we'll get through it, but if we don't, I'm sure that whatever we get through is going to be a good learning thing for not only maybe some of you, but me too. Because every time I read this, something just jumps out spiritually that I never picked up on before, and that's a good thing. But 10 minutes a day, my friends, 10 minutes a day can make a huge difference in your life. It can make a huge difference in your life spiritually, physically, and mentally. And this is our sacrifice. Later we'll get to the point where Cain and Abel are doing their sacrifices unto the Lord. And when you see these sacrifices, they're putting up goats and vegetables and things, and they're sacrificing them on this big table to God. Well, what do those things represent? Spiritually, those things represent the time and the effort it takes to make them. Goats don't grow on trees. You gotta be born, and you gotta feed them, and you gotta take care of them. And weeks, months, and years later, one of them's old enough to sacrifice unto the Lord. So when you see a sacrifice today, our sacrifice is the time we spend in this book. It's time you could be in your bass boat. It's time you could be with your children. It's time you could be on your job making money. It's time that you could be doing a number of things that you would rather be doing. But when you sacrifice this time unto God, you put this book on the table, just like those lambs are laid on that table and sacrificed to God. When you put this book on the table and you read it, that is your sacrifice for our time. We're going to find that this book, everything in this book is about us and our time. No matter what time you read this, 1,000 years ago, if you read it today, or 1,000 years from now, this book is about you. That being said, 10 minutes a day is going to be a good thing. Let's all of us try to do it if we can. You don't have to look at these videos. You can read it yourself. But just kind of think as you read this, what does the Spirit of God want you to know about these stories? How does this pertain to you? I guarantee you will be happy that you did. You will be happier for it, and you will be more complete for it. With that being said, thank you guys for stopping by and taking a look at this video, and I hope that I see you again.